Welcome to Story Lounge, a story time for adults. I'm an adult. Lisa's an adult. Just confirming that detail. Thank you for joining us today. You're invited to sit back, grab yourself a beverage, a hot one, a cold one, whatever you need, and a blanket. So you'll notice that I have my crochet blanket available to me. Whatever blanket you have available to you. We have previously discussed on earlier episodes of Story Lounge a blanket of words, a word blanket, and being read aloud to can sometimes have that beautiful coziness. My name is Natalie, and I am a librarian at the City of Melbourne Libraries. And my colleague Lisa, who hasn't said a word yet, is going to be reading aloud to us. Lisa, hello, how are you?
Hello, Natalie. I'm very well. And hello to everyone out there.
Lisa has been running this Story Lounge program inside our libraries for many, many years. And here we are in the privacy of our own homes and yet still connected and still talking about reading, which is a delight. In this episode of Story Lounge, Lisa will be reading 2 pieces aloud and then it'll be up for a discussion. So you're reading poems or prose poems. What's the deal and what's the difference?
Well, let's just say that the pieces today have a foot in each camp.
Bit of prose, bit of poetry.
Absolutely.
I think I'm ready for that. Yeah, I just checked. Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Okay.
You must be ready for that. You've prepped for this.
Yep.
Born ready. Okay. Let's drift and dream away as the words cover us in a blanket. And after each of the readings, we'll have a bit of a chat. I'll read out any comments that are left in this live recording. So if you are watching this live, feel free to pop a comment in the chat field and we'll be engaging with that a little bit later in the program. Lisa, would you like to cover me in a blanket of words? What will you be reading to me to all of us today?
Well, Natalie, today's episode is actually a shout out to the literary journals that nurture and support our amazing local talent. Both of today's pieces are from a journal called the Slow Canoe, and they produce these beautiful chapbooks and wonderful live events. And there's a couple of issues there.
Now, when you say chapbook, what does that mean?
So a chapbook is just a small book, usually of poetry, but can be of other things, sometimes stitched or stapled on the side here, so quite easy to produce. And the word, I had to look it up, being a librarian, but chapbook comes from the Old English chap, which means trade, and the men who used to go door to door selling the books were called chapmen, and so the books were named chapbooks after the men who traded them.
I think you and I can be chaps today.
Yes.
We can be chaps and chums. Chums
Yes.
reading chaps. How's that?
It sounds perfect.
Yeah. All right. Take it away, Lisa.
All right. So as we mentioned earlier, both of these pieces do walk that blurred line between poetry and prose. Both are very funny. They're acutely observed with more than a touch of anxiety about them. The first is by the writer, editor and critic Fiona Wright. And the second is by Zarah Butcher-McGunnigle, a New Zealand poet based in Melbourne.
Excellent choices, both brilliant writers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So first I'm going to be reading from the Fiona Wright piece. It's a little extract of a longer piece that's been sort of chopped up into little segments or vignettes. So I'm just going to read the last section. It's quite short. It's from the chapbook called 5 by 5, which featured 5 different writers. And then we'll have a little chat about it after I finish.
I'm ready.
Okay. I read somewhere that the word avocado comes from the Aztec word for testicle because of the fruit's pendulous shape. It delights me that this is considered clean eating. The next morning, while I'm writing in a cafe, a woman orders avocado on toast and it's delivered to her table, crumbed, deep fried, enormous. A man about my age sits nearby with someone who must be his mother and is carrying a bag as enormous and as orange. She says, "I've quit sugar. I'll just have a chocolate croissant." I walk home past the wall of jasmine at the end of my street. It's suddenly dripping with tiny buds, white chevrons so close to spiraling open into star-shaped blossom. I can smell them already, even closed tight like this, and the thrill runs the length of my spine. Spring is this sap, Eileen Miles writes, this slow-moving stuff.
Why do I feel like I've heard that before?
Because I think there's something so fresh, contemporary, something very now about this writing. It's immediate. There's the cafe. I miss cafes. I miss going to cafes. And there's something lovely about being transported instantly to this cafe with the jasmine in bloom, the avocado on toast, the I quit sugar reference. It's just transportative. It took me right there.
But I feel like I've read it before. Do you think it's potentially in one of Fiona Wright's essay anthologies?
Oh, it's possible. I've read both of those, but I don't recall specifically if that piece is in there.
Oh, perhaps I've read it elsewhere. Anyway, irrelevant.
So you're familiar with it.
So
you had a bit of time to reflect.
Yes, I've had time to reflect, and one of my favorite things is I don't know that I know how to pronounce the word for it. When inanimate objects become not animate so much, but when a handbag looks like a pumpkin, when somebody's shoes look like something, when loaves of bread, for example, that kind of
a simile when something is like something else.
Really grasping for words when you and I speak, and thank goodness for you, because you've got all the words that I'm missing. But she begins with a simile that it's difficult to process with food, but a handbag being a pumpkin is fine. A croissant having no sugar in it is also fine. Like I'm on board for all of those things. But then I was waiting for the jasmine to be something edible as well. Because the scent of jasmine is so heady and so tangible. It's one of those smells that you can absorb, and then it has a flavor. I would eat something jasmine flavored. I'm just putting that out there.
Oh, well, you probably drink jasmine tea sometimes.
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. Oh, I'm one step ahead of myself even today. My goodness.
But you have raised a good point. There's a real sensuality to this piece where there are flavors, there are textures, there are smells, there's the visual. So it really does engage quite a few of the senses. It's a tiny fragment, but it's very evocative, very sensuous.
And familiar, whether I've read it before or not. I feel like I've been there. As you said, we've all been sitting in cafes and ordered avocado toast and not being able to pay mortgages. Is that what happens? It's either like pay the mortgage or get the avocado on toast.
They're your options. Although when it comes deep fried, what does that mean?
I don't know. Who could deep fry an avocado? Do you like hot avocado? Have you ever had like warmed up, heated avocado?
I think I have, maybe in some kind of Mexican dish.
Right. Okay. Hot avocado is a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never had it crumbed and deep fried. That just seems Italian and also excessive, which I suppose is the same thing. But I don't know that deep fried avocado is Italian, but sort of crumbing and deep frying things is certainly yeah.
I think it's interesting that the piece starts off with a little shadow of anxiety around that food. And then it sort of disappears once we get to the jasmine, and there's this lovely sort of opening out, this sort of sense of, I guess, of spring coming, of hope, and sort of freeing up as the piece progresses. And I really enjoyed that.
You've got the anxiety of being inside and being surrounded by other people's life choices.
Yeah, and food choices.
And food choices and your own reactions to all of that. And then you're outside and suddenly you're choosing what you're smelling, you're choosing what you're approaching, you're choosing what you're seeing and Fiona's certainly choosing what she's showing us of the world outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like there is a bit of a journey there. We are traveling a little bit from the inside to the outside, moving through the piece, even though it is quite short.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. Her writing's so lovely and so like momentary specific. Like this is happening now. I am observing this one thing that's happening, and it's not just observant for the sake of and then this happened and then this happened. It's more about this is how I'm reacting to what I'm seeing and this is how I'm going to tell you. I love
And she's great at giving us a real sense of the now as well. I really love it when writers seem able to capture the time that we're living in. Some writers seem so good at that. Some writers, are better at writing about the past, but I think both the writers I've chosen for today's episode, they just have that finger on the pulse of now somehow. I just feel like these pieces were written 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite immediate, isn't it?
Mm.
Would you like to read the next piece, Lisa?
I would love to.
Thank you.
So this second piece has a title. It's called Wearing Neutral Colours. It's from the Lessons chapbook by Slow Canoe, and the writer is Zarah Butcher-McGunnigle. Wearing Neutral Colours. From the discomfort of my own home, I buy dresses, look up recipes, do online surveys. I work up to complete a survey to get free food, but I didn't qualify. I don't qualify for any of these surveys. I think I should have fallen in love again by now. I put on a choker before eating dinner alone in my room. My mother always asks me if the person I'm dating is the love of my life. Then yesterday she sent me a message that said, "Hi, I just sent you and your sister an article about the odds of finding love. Apparently, it's just a numbers game. If you do nothing, it's 1 in 536 on any given day." I woke up to make a big batch of ice cubes. I want to walk down a very long driveway. I have met someone new, but it's too early for them to find out I'm judgmental and petty. I need them to form an emotional attachment to me first. Unfortunately, to get more friends, you tend to have friends in the first place. To get a job, it's easier if you have a job in the first place. The fear of money is affecting my endocrine system. Continental breakfast and bobby pins falling out. I was about to enjoy this cereal, but then I remembered I'm not allowed to enjoy anything because I don't have a job. I go to a babysitting interview and they start digging a grave for their dying dog while I'm there. I've been seeing a lot of moon boots around lately. I can't remember if I took my medicine. I keep thinking, why am I doing this to nothing in particular? Everyone I've dated or had sex with has been a dog person, and I hate dogs. Every time I mention it to my mother that I'm finding it hard being unemployed, she says, "Why don't you start your own business? I really don't know why you haven't tried to do that." Woke up from a dream about the cupboard my sister is trying to force upon me. Recently, she found this cupboard on the side of the road. "It would be perfect for you," she keeps saying. "You need storage so you can finally clean your room." But I don't want the cupboard. I don't want another large thing in my room. And it's not the right colour. "Why can't you just be excited about the cupboard I got you?" she said. "I'm just trying to help you. If you don't accept the cupboard, then I'm never going to try and help you ever again." My father is getting remarried. The wedding is at 7 a.m. He keeps asking me which brunch option he can put me down for at the restaurant. I say fried eggs on toast. He says, "Okay, I've put you down for eggs Benedict." He asks me what I have been up to recently, and I say nothing because I am very depressed and anxious. He says, "Oh, right, well, I'm thinking about getting the house renovated because there's no indoor-outdoor flow." At the wedding, I hug the bride and snag her dress with my fingernail. I bring a rubber plant as a gift. I keep blowing my nose every time someone looks at me so they won't talk to me. But in the middle of brunch, my aunt turns to me to say, "So do you have any hobbies?" Well, I don't make art anymore. I just have disappointing relationships. All of my emails sound like I wrote them with a knife held at my throat. I'm ovulating. No one's giving me any attention, so I make an apple pie at midnight. I spray multi-purpose cleaner on the pie and it shines, and then it gets soggy. Last week, I had sex with the orphan, but we fell out before I could give him his birthday gift. A candle melted down to make another candle. He was angry I left his house because I felt anxious. If you had a job, then you wouldn't have so much time on your hands to find problems, he said. He didn't understand why I was going to the hospital to see my sister when I already had plans. He thought it was too much for people to expect you to help them. Returning home after a long day of doing nothing, wearing neutral colours, not folding clothes, not doing dishes, not making an appointment. I eat porridge off a plate. I water the rubber plant that my mother has positioned behind the door because she hates it. It gets squashed every time the door opens. My phone keeps accidentally calling people. I don't have any friends, but it keeps calling my mother or the woman I did babysitting for 2 months ago. I am supposed to be meeting someone, but my grandmother is dying. I'm walking around in the dark in a suburb very far from my house, eating $1.62 worth of ham from a plastic bag. I can't remember what my skills are. My mother messages me to say that my grandmother is about to die and then that she has died. I start typing out a message and my phone accidentally calls her. My mother says, I can't talk on the phone right now. I'm too upset. I just can't. I'll talk to you in a few days. My phone accidentally calls her again 2 more times. The mood ring I'm wearing is stuck on my finger. Summer is over and I didn't have fun.
Could I just have 15 minutes to process that, please?
Sure, we'll just pop this episode on pause and then we'll restart it in 15 minutes.
There's no pause in live streaming.
If only.
Lisa, I wrote notes during that. I tried to make sense of what was going on because, you know, I'm a bit of an ordered, structured chap. So, you know, so there are some immediate things that I, you know, Fiona Wright was seeing things around her and writing about them. And Zarah Butcher-McGunnigle is thinking things rapidly and jumping from one thing to another, and yet also observing real life events, and yet also observing every thought that she's having. She's also very passive, right?
Yeah.
So she's sort of, things are happening to her. She doesn't have a great deal of agency in the conversations that her mother or her father were having with her about getting a job. And I wondered the whole time about neutral colors. Like, what was she just neutral in her life? Is that what wearing neutral meant? But then you said it, so it's obviously just part of the story. But for the first, I don't know, half to 3/4 of the story, I was pondering what that neutral colors meant and whether that meant she's just a bit neutral among everything that's going on in her life.
That's an interesting point, because even though the title comes from something that's written in the story, titles are chosen very specifically and they do colour the way that, or not, given neutral colours, the way we actually read what comes next. It's interesting. You said passive, and I actually read it more as disconnected, someone who is a bit disconnected from the people in the story. So the narrator is a bit disconnected. But at the same time, and what I really love about this piece is I actually think that beneath the disconnection, there is this intense longing for connection. All the characters are reaching out to one another. The mother is reaching out to the narrator. The sister is reaching out to the narrator. The narrator is reaching out to, you know, going to the father's wedding and going to see her sister in hospital and reaching out to these other relationships. And so, first of all, I thought this was a fantastic portrait of a family where everyone is trying to connect but misses that connection just a little bit. and people aren't quite connecting. But yeah, the tension between that disconnectedness or that passiveness, but that sort of thread of wanting to connect makes this piece really work for me. It just it makes it feel so much like life.
There's also that neutrality and that passivity makes you think of a bit of blandness is the wrong word, but we'll go with that for just put a pin in it for a sec. And then if you jump back to the Fiona Wright, everything has colour. The avocado is green. The handbag is the colour of a pumpkin. The jasmine has that kind of, beautiful stark white. The buds are appearing against the green. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that comment about colour and blandness and sort of brightness and a bit things that are a bit more dull. I'm not suggesting that Zarah's piece is dull. What am I trying to say, Lisa?
I think the word that I would use is deadpan. There's like a real deadpan delivery to the piece, to the descriptions.
Opposite of that kind of brightness that Fiona, the objects around her. There's a couple of absolute zingers in Zarah's piece about someone, maybe if you had a job, something or other, and
it's easier to get a job when you already have a job.
Yeah, but no, a bit further down, maybe her aunt says something at the wedding, or she's just got this snappy retort that's very, it is delivered in a super deadpan way, but it's quite real. It's not been polished for, public consumption. It's just like off the top of her head exactly how she's feeling in that moment. But also you were talking about the connections. Her mobile phone is making its own connections.
That's exactly right. Ending with that phone reaching out and trying to connect with the mother's phone. To me, that's what really sort of seals the deal for me, that this is about connection, that even her phone is reaching out to connect. And I almost feel like the deadpan sort of underplayed aspect is almost covering up that deep desire. Perhaps it's so powerful, that need to connect, that it has to be hidden away and protected a little bit with this sort of deadpan veneer.
The lines about she's connected and hooked up with an orphan, and she has a gift, but unfortunately the relationship fizzles out before she can give the gift, and the gift is a candle that's been melted down to make another candle. That's a sort of silly and absurd and delightful to think about.
Yeah.
But that's a missed connection.
Yeah.
Which is, maybe that longing, maybe on a second reading that would be more apparent to me, because the connection stuff didn't connect with me and until we started talking about it. That's the beauty of writing, Lisa. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, we could talk forever. And we will have other opportunities to do that. But I wanted to talk to you a bit about literary journals and magazines. So this Slow Canoe is one that we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
But Melbourne is known for its literary journals, and some have a huge and vast empire, have been publishing for many, many years, and some are quite small press, stapling their own spines together, as you discovered with the Slow Canoe. The Snow Canoe? Okay, so that's a different literary journal that I'll start when I've got some time on my hands. But the Slow Canoe, please don't sue me for copyright infringement, is a chapbook, is a literary journal, is published in Melbourne. There are more. Would you like to share, if people are interested in reading short pieces by authors they may have read full novels by, if they're interested in delving into back issues or reading contemporary issues?
Oh, absolutely. I'd encourage people to pick up any of these journals, because they're such great supporters of our local writers. And we have, as we've discussed on previous episodes, an amazing literary scene in Victoria, and it would not be possible without the support of all these journals. So there's Kill Your Darlings, Overland, Archer, Liminal, VoiceWorks. You could probably think of a few yourself.
Yes, well, on my list is Going Down Swinging, which I love, Meanjin, and the lifted brow.
Mm.
And
All
there's
worth
more that we haven't even named yet.
Yeah, probably haven't even scratched the surface, but definitely check some of those out if you are interested in the present and the future of writing.
Shall I jump over to our comments? We have a small selection, but a delightful selection. The first one is that somebody has shared with us that they miss eating avocado on toast.
It's not the same at home.
It is the same at home, and it's a lot cheaper. But I think what might be missing is the social aspect of leaving the house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it does make things taste different as well. It's all about context. If you were smelling the jasmine coming in from the courtyard, your avocado on toast would taste different.
For me, it's about the company. Because, I don't know, I'm being quite controversial. Avocados and toast inside my house or outside my house have a very similar flavour. But, the company, the context of the sounds, the smell of the coffee machine, the 40-minute queue to get in, to even sit down and enjoy avocado on toast. I have to say, I'm not experiencing 40-minute queues in my home cafe.
I'm pleased to hear that. I'd be slightly concerned if you were.
Yeah, there's just simply, I'm not standing out the front waiting. I don't have to give anyone my name and mobile number and wait. I don't know. Look, I'm just a bright side person. That's the bright side.
Well, I'm just glad that we could take someone to that avocado on toast cafe, even if it was just for a moment today.
Yep. There's another couple comments. The second piece was filled with endless heartbreaking moments. And it also captures the disconnections and connections that happen when we experience mental health issues. And it was done in quite a real way.
Absolutely.
That overwhelming nature of making adult choices when things just feel impossible.
Yes, and even small everyday interactions can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to our commenters who have engaged and joined with us in our story lounge. But it is time now for us all to hit stop, pause, shut down, and go and eat ourselves a little bit of avocado on toast.
All right. Well, we better remind people that they can check out the great collection of ebooks and e-audiobooks at City of Melbourne Libraries, including one of my personal favourites, Fiona Wright's essay collection, Small Acts of Disappearance. Well worth reading.
Delightful. So delightful. And if you're a member of the library service, you can jump onto our website and start downloading those ebooks and e-audiobooks immediately. And if you're not a member, it's quite a quick online form to fill in. And away you go. You can join up and have access to those online collections. Thank you so much for watching Story Lounge with us, and happy avocado on toast to you all.